I had been looking forward to this vacation for months. After working tirelessly, juggling late nights and stressful deadlines, I finally managed to save enough for a trip I had dreamed about for years. I imagined myself exploring new places, relaxing, and finally taking a break from the constant grind. But as soon as I announced my plans to my parents, the excitement evaporated. "You're not going," they said, smiling as if delivering good news. At first, I thought I misheard. I asked them to repeat it, hoping this was some strange joke, but their faces remained calm, smug even. Then came the crushing blow. My vacation had been handed over to my sister. "Enjoy," they said, as if my disappointment was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. If you were in my place, what would you do? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe. I froze. Shock and disbelief twisted inside me. How could they do this? I had worked hard, saved diligently, and planned every detail. And yet, in a moment, everything I had anticipated was stripped away. My sister, as always, received privileges I had to fight for. She had never put in the same effort, never saved the way I did, yet here she was, preparing to enjoy the very experience that had been my reward. The hurt cut deep. I tried to mask my feelings, forcing a polite smile as I replied with, "Enjoy." Inside, however, a storm raged. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and invisible. This wasn't just about a vacation. It was the culmination of years of favoritism, manipulation, and subtle cruelty. My parents had a pattern of elevating her while diminishing me, of giving her opportunities that were rightfully mine, and this was just another example. I replayed the moment over and over, the image of my parents handing her the trip, while smiling at me etched into my mind. Their smugness felt like a challenge, and for the first time, I realized I couldn't rely on them to recognize my worth. The validation I had expected from my family wasn't coming, and I understood something important. If I wanted my life, my happiness, and my rewards, I had to claim them myself. As I turned away, forcing my smile to remain intact, I planted a seed of resolve. I would not let this humiliation define me. I would rise above their favoritism, their control, and their attempts to keep me small. This vacation, taken from me, became more than just lost plans. It became a symbol of the fire that had ignited within me. And I knew, even then, that my story was far from over. If you were in my place, what would you do? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. The weeks after that day were some of the most frustrating I had ever endured. Every time I saw my parents, every time I heard about my sister's upcoming trip, a mix of anger and disbelief churned inside me. It wasn't just the vacation itself. It was the principle, the repeated message that my hard work and dedication were insignificant compared to her effortless favoritism. I began noticing the patterns more clearly, the way they praised her achievements more loudly, the way her mistakes were overlooked while mine were dissected and criticized, and the subtle ways they made me feel small. At first, I struggled. I questioned myself constantly. Had I really done enough? Was I too sensitive? But slowly, clarity emerged. Their actions weren't about me. They were about control, about keeping me in a position where I would remain subservient, always eager for their approval, but never fully recognized. That realization was both painful and liberating. I could no longer wait for them to validate my worth. I had to create it myself. I started focusing relentlessly on my own growth. Late nights became my laboratory for self-improvement. I invested time in learning new skills, honing my expertise, and expanding my career opportunities. Every insult, every subtle jab, every act of favoritism became fuel for determination. I quietly built a safety net for myself, financial stability, professional credibility, and personal confidence. Unlike the vacation, which was taken from me in a single moment, These achievements could not be stripped away by anyone. Meanwhile, my parents and sister carried on as if nothing had happened. My sister, of course, flaunted her upcoming trip, sharing every detail publicly. They continued their subtle manipulations, trying to provoke jealousy or guilt, but I had learned the art of patience. I stayed calm, observing them, learning from them, and silently measuring the impact of every move I made. The more they tried to assert control, the more I strengthened my own position. Months passed. I began achieving milestones that I had quietly aimed for: promotions, financial savings, recognition from peers. Each success built confidence and independence, and I started testing boundaries. I declined small requests from my parents, politely but firmly, noticing their reactions. Their smugness began to falter, replaced by confusion, then subtle worry. The dynamic had shifted. I was no longer powerless. Their attempts to dominate me had little effect. Then came the first real turning point. A mutual friend invited me to share my progress at a casual gathering. I spoke about my work, my savings, and personal achievements without exaggeration, simply stating facts. Their reactions were immediate: surprise, whispers, and quiet admiration from those who had seen me as the overlooked sibling. My parents and sister tried to regain control, but it was too late. My calm confidence spoke louder than any argument they could make. The power balance had finally begun to tip. I realized that the humiliation I had felt over the stolen vacation, over every slight, had been transformed into a quiet, unstoppable strength. I didn't need to confront them directly to prove my worth. The evidence was clear: my growth, my success, and my independence spoke for me. The vacation that had been stolen, once a symbol of injustice, became a marker of what I could achieve despite their favoritism. By the time my sister returned from her lavish trip, I had reached a point where I could interact with them without resentment dominating my emotions. I had become unshakable, untouchable in my self-worth. Their control had crumbled, not because I sought revenge, but because I had mastered myself. I had built a life where my achievements could not be ignored or dismissed, where my validation came from my own hard work and not from their fleeting approval. And yet, the story was not over. The final act would come quietly, strategically, a culmination of months of preparation. I had patience now, the kind that doesn't react impulsively but moves deliberately. The vacation they had taken, the favoritism they flaunted, and the subtle humiliation I endured, they had set the stage for a reckoning they didn't even know was coming. My time to step fully into the light, to assert my independence and claim my rightful recognition, was approaching. When my sister returned from her vacation, I walked into the house with calm confidence. My parents' smiles faltered. My sister's smugness wavered. I didn't need to shout or prove anything. My presence, my achievements, my independence spoke louder than any words. I calmly set boundaries. No more favoritism, no more belittling, no more control. For the first time, they realized I was untouchable in my self-worth. I had grown beyond their manipulation. Walking away, I felt a freedom I had never known. The stolen vacation had taught me something far greater. I didn't lose anything. I gained myself.